welcome back to We Are the Batman. I'm Mike.
And this is Matthew.
Today we are taking a trip back to visit the Bat Family. Haven't visited the Bat Family in a little bit. And, back around Halloween time, in the spirit of Halloween, we took a look at all the Batman costumes that have existed over the years. And we thought it would be fun to do the same thing for arguably the next best member of the Bat Family, being Nightwing.
Yes.
Because a certain someone on this show, let's just say if Nightwing was a liquid, Matt would replace his blood with Nightwing.
That is correct.
That is 1,000% correct. Why don't you tell us a little bit, Matt, for those who don't know, for those of you who might be new to the show for the first time, don't get me wrong, I collected a shitload of Nightwing comics, especially in the 90s. What is it in particular with you, though, that makes Nightwing just pop like that, man?
I mean, like, the big thing with Nightwing, honestly, is that he's just one of those sidekicks who grew up to be something different from his hero or his mentor. You know, you look at Speedy or you look at Aqualad, they all eventually just become a shade of their predecessor. I mean, Wally West, who is Kid Flash, literally becomes the Flash. And with Nightwing, you know, he stays Robin for a little while after he and Batman kind of split, but then he eventually becomes Nightwing and he goes on to completely different Avengers. He's on the team of the Teen Titans, and then eventually the Titans, who having more like Avengers like story. He's in space, he's dating an alien, Starfire, going through all that stuff, and it's not until like the mid 90s when he becomes the protector of Bloodhaven that we know now. But even then, he treats being a vigilante completely different than Batman. So that's why I've just kind of always liked him. And then, of course, like he also has a really cool suit.
He does. Most of the time. there have been look, with any costume design, there have been some hiccups.
Yeah, when you see his original costume, it is so obvious how long he's been Batman or been Nightwing because of the 70s era collar he has.
It's so bad, dude. It's the sky blue, it's the yellow, it's the super deep V-neck with the popped collar.
Yeah.
He looks like a circus performer.
Well, and the thing that kind of cracks me up, honestly, is when you look back at that first costume now, you're like, what is this thing? But if you look at what Batman's costume looked like back then, it's the same shades. Yeah. It's the same yellow, it's the same blues. So it makes sense that he's kind of offshooting from Batman of that time. But it's been so long since Batman has been in that bright of colors that when you look at Nightwing's original costume, you're like, that's kind of odd.
Well, and like the next suit after that's not a lot better. It's when they got really into Dick Grayson having long hair for some reason. I was never a big fan of long hair Dick Grayson. I always thought the mullet just looked weird. But 95 is when we get pretty much the suit we all know, and that's what we've been rolling with ever since. It's been some ups and downs with Nightwing. It's been a lot of variations of the same thing. I know we can make that argument. We were talking off mic. You can make that argument about the Robin costumes, but at least each different Robin, especially post New 52, brought a little something different to each of their different versions. You know, Tim was the first one to wear pants, but Tim also had the baton that he fought with. Damian has kind of the ragged cape with the hood, which is objectively a neat look. It's kind of a mix of that League of Shadows ninja meets Robin kind of look. It tracks. You'll have to remind me what Jason Todd's was like in the New 52 because I don't.
Really when they do the New 52 reboot and even like Rebirth, they honestly retrofit every Robin with pants. The big difference with Jason Todd is that he has more red in all the different armor, and he has a red mask and he has shoulder pads. Right. But the retrofit for Dick Grayson, he has pants, but his is more streamlined and he has no armor at all. So it's kind of like they're kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
I remember Tim's being a lot more black. Tim had a
Tim.
lot more black in his, I think. Or
Well,
am I thinking of a different one?
you think of a different one because Tim's is the one that's all red. So the
That's what I'm
weird,
thinking of.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all red with just some black, and then Damien's has kind of goes back to the green, but it has more black in it, and then you've got the really weird. I really like it where Damien just recently has like this gray and black one that just has red and green highlights.
Oh, you've seen that one.
It's
Oh,
it's
yeah, I have. I've seen it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
fun.
cool, but it's just like, but then you're not Robin if you're all gray.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, honestly, if you think about what a Robin actually looks like, it kind of tracks.
I guess that's
Actually,
true. That's true.
But it's also Damien, so who cares?
Yeah. But no, like
Good luck,
like,
James Gunn.
yeah. So like I like the Nightwing suit. The one thing I'll say about the original suit is when they put it in Brave and the Bold and just altered the collar and the
Yeah.
V-neck, I was like, wow, that looks really cool.
Well,
Like,
and I like that in Brave and the Bold they had it to where it was like lightly based on like was it like a video game or no, that was from the Batman cartoon.
Yeah.
Which was a fun take on that, I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way they did it in Brave and the Bold, because yeah, I mean Brave and the Bold leaned into the camp a little bit, but even they were like, we gotta
tweak it.
We gotta tweak this just a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's get into some of these Nightwing costumes now. I mean, we've talked about the OG one and what just kind of it's just dated. It's just very dated, is all it is.
Pull up that image that we shared to the group, and let's just go through those real quick, and then we can pepper in some other ones.
Yeah, you talking about? Oh, did I close it? I think I closed it. This one here, this one.
Yeah, let's go through that.
Yeah.
One.
So, and I love what we're doing this, and nobody knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we found this. I found this grid in a Batman group we're in.
And we'll share this image.
Well, it'll be on social media. We'll post it up. But it's a look on, and I wish I had the original artist that did these. Unfortunately, the image did not come captioned with the artist. So, apologies to that. But it's basically all the different versions of Nightwing's suit that we've had in animation and video games. Done in the style more or less of Young Justice.
Yeah.
Because it starts with the Young Justice one. We get the one from Batman the Animated Series. We get the one from Arkham City video game, the one from Titans, the one from that one episode of Teen Titans, and then the one from the Arkham Knight video game, which are all, again, 6 different versions of the same suit with just enough little tweaks here and there.
Yeah,
to keep Mike happy, to keep me happy. Let's start with the Young Justice one since that's the first one on here. It's a pretty straightforward Nightwing suit. I prefer my Nightwing to have the bird be a bigger part of the design and not just an emblem on his chest. I think that's more of a me thing, but I like that this one also has a belt with pouches.
I think the Young Justice suit is probably my favorite Nightwing suit, and I think this is one of those where like it's enough. It's like the Dark Knight suit from the movies goes overboard with what the realism of a suit would be.
Yeah,
I think this is that happy medium. Yes, if you were fighting crime, this is what you probably would wear, but it's not overly armor. It's not overly tactical. It just looks like, no, this is a practical version of what Nightwing's suit would be. As cute as it is for his boots to hold all of his crap, that's not realistic. He needs a belt.
I've never, and we'll get into this in a little bit when we talk more about it, but I've always hated that Nightwing's gear is in his boots and his gauntlets. Because to me, I'm like, that's so impractical. How big around the human arm and the human calf is not that big around to hold all that stuff.
Yeah.
And also that would make fighting damn near impossible because your limbs are weighed down with all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I don't remember, did the Young Justice Nightwing have the wings?
No, that is not something he had. That was so the next one is the Batman animated series one. This is the first costume that introduces actual eagle on his chest or a bird symbol on his chest. Before that, it was just the
It was
blue
a V.
stripes.
It was
It was
just
just a
it was
V.
just a V
Yeah, that
wing looking thing.
went
Yeah.
into his shoulders and down his arms. And I think this is one of those like in animation, there's certain because like I liked that suit, but I really wish he had the blue down the arms. But I know in
Yeah.
animation that's a lot more difficult to do.
It is.
Um,
Yeah, that makes, especially because this is still during hand-drawn animation time, so that
yeah,
would take. And when they did that, because this is part of that redesign they did with the Bruce Timm stuff when they started doing the crossover with Superman, where it was a lot more blacks, a lot
yeah,
more darker colors, and it was meant to be just like, yeah, we got to make the animation cheaper, just make everything black.
yeah.
And
Make him, and he looks cool. Like the mullet aside, even though I think it worked. It worked for what they were doing with the character in the show, which is to make him completely different than what he had been before.
well, it was kind of the old comic book cheat is how do you make it look like someone's aged? You make their hair longer,
Yeah,
especially in a style of animation that's not heavy on the detail.
yeah,
So, yeah, I like this one. It's just it's a little too much of a unitard. Like it's a morph suit
yeah.
basically. I know that they gave him the wings, and he had a version of the Eskrima sticks, but he never uses them. This take on Nightwing, excuse me. Well, he only shows up in like 3 episodes of the show too, which was a huge bummer. Like he shows up, and I think one of the episodes is the Scarecrow dream sequence, so it doesn't count.
Yeah,
One of them, he's not even Nightwing in the thing because it's the one where Poison Ivy brainwashes Bruce and makes him get married.
yeah.
And Dick Grayson's in that, but Nightwing's not. And then I think he shows up, and then there's the episode where he tells the story of the fallout with Bruce to Tim.
There's a
And
couple others. Like he's in like 4 or 5, but not as
well,
many as he should be.
not nearly as many as he should be. So that was kind of infuriating because as somebody who that was my first introduction to Nightwing was through that show, and I'm like, yo, this is cool, more of this, and then he's just kind of not in it.
Well,
Uh,
and this is where like I really couldn't believe at this point you couldn't spin him off into his own show.
they should
Like it
have
just felt like it. And then the weirdest thing, which always kind of annoyed me, is he then disappears. Like the
vanishes.
rest of the
You never see him again.
Bat family. You see him briefly in a
You
single episode of Justice League
you
Unlimited.
see this silhouette from behind as in one of the JLUs when they're going through.
It's a grudge match. He
Yeah,
watches Helena Hunt, is it Huntress? I think he watches her go into Bloodhaven.
yeah,
And that's the
that's
only
it.
time you see him. And I'm like, I just don't understand why they didn't show up.
That's when it's Justice League Unlimited, and you've got a whole episode dedicated just to Booster Gold. You've got
Yeah.
an entire episode dedicated just to Vixen and Hawkeye and Hawk Girl having a pissing contest over who loves John Stewart more. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't give us one episode with Batman having to re-team up with Nightwing for like a Sins of the Father-esque episode.
Yeah.
Like that would have been
You
great.
pulled in Vigilante and Shining Knight. You
Oh
couldn't
my
have him have
God.
been.
You had whole episodes you had an entire episode dedicated to Vigilante and Shining Knight, which who the hell knew who those guys were the whole time? I mean, it just
Even though it will
yeah,
cost me $125 to cosplay Vigilante, but that's a different story altogether.
that's a whole
Uh,
yeah. So that was just kind of is I see that suit, I see that design, and all it does is just kind of make me angry because it's like wasted potential.
yeah. The coolest thing about this, give or take, is that this is what introduces him having like the bird look, which
Yeah,
then becomes a constant like coming back to that
yeah.
going forward, which I'm here or there on. I like it in a way, but at the same time, like I don't mind the bird head. The wing thing's weird, but it's fine. The
I
Arkham City, or you
well
want to?
I was gonna say before we get to that, the thing with to talk about the bird shape, I just don't love that it's asymmetrical. I like other versions of it, like we'll talk about one in a minute here, where it's just a straight up triangle on top, so it makes
Yeah.
it symmetrical. Having it be a head turned one direction is always it's off putting to me just a little bit that it's not symmetrical. And that's one of
Fair.
those things that's just I like my logos
Yeah.
to make a little if you're gonna have it be an all over design like that, I think it needs to be symmetrical. If you're doing it like in Young Justice or like in the Teen Titans one where it's just an emblem on the chest a la Batman, I can forgive it a bit more. But if you're gonna make it a part of the whole suit, I think it needs to be uniform. So
Well, and also like oh man, I just completely lost my train of thought. I apologize. No, I think it makes me think of Gotcha Man or Battle of the Planets. It's this old anime where they all were birds and they had that bird symbol on their chest.
right.
So it's just kind of like, okay, sure, fine, whatever.
Well, let me
Whatever.
throw this at you before we move on to the Arkham City suit. Did you read the actual graphic novel of because remember they're doing the comic books to go along with the show? And we had the episode Sins of the Father that was like the 30-minute tale of Robin falling out with Batman. Did you ever read the graphic novel that was his whole story from the fallout to becoming Nightwing?
Is that the one where it was like he was like a different tribe, but he had like the
He had a version of the
stone, yeah, and
bird, and
that's where he got
he
the
like
wings.
learn how to like be a ninja and stuff like that.
Yes, I read that once. It was fine. It
It
was a
was it
cute
was
little
it was
connector.
for kids. It was very much written for kids. I gobbled it up because I was the right age, but
Yeah,
also it was kind of cool to see a different telling of his transition to Nightwing. I kind of liked that. Look, they tried to create some lore. If there's one thing the Bruce Timm's team always were very good at, it was trying to create lore in the world they were building. That's why
yeah.
we got Harley Quinn and the better version of Mr. Freeze.
Well, and it was also a cool because it was also the story of what happened to everybody. It
Yeah,
wasn't just him. It was like all the different characters.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna just say this now. I don't like any of his video game suits. They're too
So
much armor to
So,
me.
well,
For me.
that was an issue with the games in general was they were trying to make it be like how would Batman actually be able to work in a world like this? And it's like, yeah, he'd have to be teched the hell out. I will say this: the Arkham's of the two, I prefer the Arkham Knight suit. The Arkham City suit was kind of a letdown because when Arkham City was getting ready to come out, the big tease they had was that Nightwing and Tim Drake Robin were going to be in the game, and everybody was like, "Oh
Yes.
my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!" Tim Drake is in the actual gameplay story for he's got maybe 30 seconds of on-screen time and about 90 seconds of dialogue in the whole
Yeah.
game. Nightwing doesn't have a voice actor in Arkham City. He's not in the story at all. He's only playable in like the challenge missions.
Correct. Which
Now I will say his fighting style in those games, mwah,
yeah.
excellent. Very ninja, very fast. The incorporation of the eskrima sticks, it's not super gadget heavy. It's you got the eskrima sticks and a grapple gun, and that's about it. You're
Yeah.
there to break arms and kick ass. So that was cool. And that carries over into Arkham Knight. I think the Arkham Knight version is the better of the two because his suit at least looks both tactical and practical.
Yeah.
It is a little too armored. I will say this though. I think part of that's also just the drawing.
Well, and I would like all look, a video game ultimately is to look cool.
Yeah.
I can't deny it looks cool.
Yeah.
Like it looks cool, but for me personally, when it comes to a character like Nightwing, I just don't like the armor doesn't work for me.
Well,
Um,
that's why I think a lot of that is I don't think it's as armored as the artist has made it out to be, or at least it doesn't look like that in the game itself. In the
yeah,
game itself, it looks more like an actual suit than because like
yeah,
Batman's suit in the game is straight up armor, but
yeah, like
given
Iron Man.
given the context of the game, it makes more sense.
Yeah,
Nightwing's role in the game is not Batman, so it doesn't need to be as armored. I think of the two, the Arkham Knight one is the better one, but also because of the two, it's the one that's got pouches and basically a utility belt because again, Yeah, you yes, okay, having it in the gauntlets and the boots is dumb. We've established that. Um, I'll say this, we all know how I feel about Titans. That show sucks on a rope. Not a bad suit design.
I don't care for it.
I will say, from a concept art standpoint, I think it's fine. The execution in the show is terrible.
Oh yeah,
The design is very good. The execution in the actual show, like with all those costumes, it looks like something out of Spirit Halloween.
it looks like somebody made it out of Eva foam.
Yeah, it's not a good look in the show,
No, it's
but
bulky, it's
but
dumb
the
looking.
concept design is good.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, if you had not done all the armor and that was just the suit.
Yeah,
But this is also like for me when I look at this is that whole thing of like we know at this point what Marvel's doing with their costumes is much better, but we can't do that, so let's go a different route and your route sucked.
yeah, because his Robin suit was terrible. Don't even get me started on Raven's costume. My God. Again, Spirit Halloween.
Yeah.
Now the last one we have on here is the one we have from that single episode of Teen Titans.
I mean, it's been appeared a couple other times.
This version of the suit was only in the one episode, wasn't it?
Well, it's he is in Teen Titans Go in this suit a lot.
Anyway, that's not what this is from. Okay, this
I
is
know.
from.
I know.
Um, it's kind of the same as the Young Justice one. It's like it's right on the cusp of being just right. I think the color scheme with the gauntlets and the belt, I don't like the gray. I get why they were doing the gray for the show because
Yes.
they were doing better as far as color schemes in that show. They didn't want him to just be all black. I don't love the light gray. I think
See,
it could have just
yeah.
been either a darker version of either it's a different shade of black or have the chest emblem be a darker shade of blue and then have the gauntlets and the belt match that shade of blue.
See, I think this is one of those cases of when you look at that suit with all these others, it looks like you're saying blah. But in the context of the show, with
Oh, it's
how
great.
the show looks, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And I remember that was, I think I talked about it off air. Is like when that Teen Titans show is going on, like the big thing was which version of Robin. Because Tim Drake
Yeah.
Robin's leading the quote unquote Teen Titans, which at this point is actually called Young Justice. Jason Todd is dead, but it's like, which one is it? Which one is it?
Yeah.
And when he shows up as Nightwing, like the entire internet that existed at that time was like, "Oh, it's Dick Grayson!" Blah, and everybody goes nuts. And
Because there's never any confirmation. He's just Robin.
yeah, they're never in civilian clothes. They never call each other by their names. They just call them by their code names.
The only one who I think ever gets called by their regular name, I think, is Starfire.
Yes, because it's the alien name.
Because I think they call her. I think at one point she gets called Coriander. I could be wrong. I could be conflating two things, but I think I could be. And I just rewatched it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but yeah. Other than that, they like Beast Boy is Beast Boy, Raven is Raven, Cyborg is Cyborg. Like they don't go. Like, he doesn't go by Vic or anything like that.
and like
yeah,
and it is in Teen Titans Go a couple times. And the biggest, funniest joke about it is that at that point, Batgirl and him are married. And when they see him, he has a baby on the carrier on his chest. And they're like, dude, what's that thing? And he's like, it's a baby. And they're like, no, on the back of your head. Because they gave him the mullet.
Oh, because they gave him the mullet.
So they just rib him for having a mullet the whole time.
As
even
they
though
should.
He's got this baby on his chest.
Look, I'll tell you what. I'll take the mullet over the bob cut they've got him in this. I will say. This hairdo is not good.
No.
This weird shoulder length bob he's got going on. I'm not into that. I'll take a mullet over that any day. It's not a good look. But I also I'll say this. I think Arkham Knight's hairstyle, or Arkham City's hairstyle rather, is my preferred, where it's just kind of a little bit too long. Like he just needs to go to the barber or take a shower. Arkham Knights is a little too styled, I think. Young Justice okay. I think it's too short on the sides. We're debating his hair at this point, so I think we should probably
Here, I
probably
just
move on to the next
yeah.
to something else. So those are the ones from the animation and video games. Um, you
There's a
know,
couple other from animation, but we'll get into them in a
well,
second.
but they're not really that much, but
Yeah.
you get into like into the 95 is where you get the introduction of the blue with it running down. Again, you've got the weird gauntlet gear things. Didn't love that. And then in
It's a
the 2000s, they just get rid of it altogether. It's like no gadgets, just sticks.
yeah. So yeah, if I just sent you a link if you want to see it, it just
Yeah,
makes me laugh when I look at it. Did you see it?
I'm pulling it up right now. I hate that so much. I hate everything about that. This is not making me this if your goal was to get me to want to watch Teen Titans Go now,
No.
you've done the opposite. I'm
It
now
just
less
yeah.
interested.
It just made me laugh that he has the baby on his chest and all they want to talk about is his mullet.
Well, it's not a good look. It's just
But
not a good look.
yeah. But going back to the what's it called? Pardon me.
You're good.
Go so yeah, when he it's actually interesting because Alfred's the one who designed the suit
Well,
because
we can't
he
all be winners.
burns. Yeah, no, I meant the blue and black only
Oh, okay.
because he literally burns the Nightwing suit
Yeah.
in the storyline. Is like I don't want to be Nightwing anymore, and then he starts investigating his parents' death, and Alfred's like, "You're gonna need a suit here. I
Mhm.
made this for you," and that's where you get the blue and black. And then when he
Is that in
gets
year
his own
3?
no. It's but that's so there's a mini series after Prodigal Son
Okay.
when he was Batman the first time, and that mini
I never
series
read
is
that.
yeah, and that mini series is like when he gets the blue and the black.
Oh,
He
okay.
still has the ponytail at the time, which is horrible.
Yeah.
And then when he starts his new thing that we know when he becomes the guardian of Bloodhaven in the
Yeah.
very first issue in a fight, his ponytail gets cut off and
That's
they
fine.
get rid of his mullet
Good.
altogether.
Good.
But yeah, he has but it's he always has that suit for a long time, and it's not until like I think halfway through that series is when they start doing the weird red and dark
Well, it
purple, which I think I sent one of those pictures to
yeah,
you as
it's
well.
2005. His whole suit is like a dark red, and
Yes.
then his emblem is a bright red, and then the mask is all one. It covers up. It's got like that weird thing they do with Wally with Kid Flash for a while,
Yeah.
where just his hair's poking out the top, and it was a weird look, and it lasted for a while. I mean, they really tried to make the red Nightwing suit a thing for a while, and it never the red didn't pop like the blue.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a story reason behind it. Honestly, I had checked out of the Nightwing comics at this time.
Yeah,
So I
I had
think it
to.
was something to do with like there is a character named Shrike that is part of his origin ish
Yeah.
that I think that influences that. But I would have to go back and reread them or read them at period because I was like, when I remember picking up the comic and looking at that, going like, this is a stupid costume. I'm not reading this book.
Well, yeah, because I was a young kid at the time. Like I read. I think I stopped collecting Nightwing actively at the time when the Cataclysm storyline ended
Yeah.
after like the earthquake rocked Gotham and Bloodhaven, and because that was a cool storyline. I liked that a lot. Um, and then that's kind of but after that storyline wrapped is about the time where I stopped collecting comics for a bit because I talked you and I talked about this off mic. Where I was living at the time, it was hard to get comics.
Yeah.
I was pretty much limited to like what was on the magazine rack at Mark's up the road. And also I was young enough that, there's a lot of things at the time my mother wasn't going to let me read because I'm, you know, 8, 9, 10 years old. And this is the golden age of Grant Morrison's the less clothing, the better
Yeah.
on it's just tits and ass everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me to stay active on comics as a young kid at the time. But yeah, the red suit carries on all the way into the 2010s. And it's
Yeah.
just not,
It's
it doesn't pop like the blue. It's just not good.
no. And then because I know that so when Rebirth happens. I'm sorry, New 52 happens. They bring him back to the blue.
Yeah.
And then he has
No,
the
I think he's still
blue.
red in New 52.
Well, it goes back and forth.
Does it?
He starts in the blue and then he goes to the
Goes to the red.
red.
I know the red suit was a big part of New 52 because New 52, they were trying to make a lot of stuff work. But
Well,
Rebirth, he goes back to the blue and he's been
oh no,
blue
you're
ever
right.
since.
Yeah, he has the red, and then it's like, yeah, once he goes back to the blue after Rebirth because
Yeah.
the whole thing with the red is the concept of all the Robins have to have red in their suits,
And they
which
were trying to
I
make
didn't
it.
like.
No, I didn't. And they were trying to do the thing where it's like, oh, well, it's different from Batman because Batman's always had blue a part of his. It's like, yeah, but like, so have a lot of heroes. Like, it's
Yeah,
not. And also, again, yeah, like the fact they're trying to make Nightwing just grown up Robin, it's not. No, that's not the point. That
yeah,
just makes him another sidekick. And Nightwing's not supposed to be a sidekick. He's supposed to be his own hero.
yeah. Now I will say this: even though it still has the red, Brett Booth takes over the Nightwing series about
Yeah.
halfway through the New 52 run, and he updates the costume. I really like that costume he makes. Um,
Which one's that?
I'm about to send it to you.
Okay.
It's it's basically like as of Nightwing like number 19, 18, 19, they changed the suit,
I.
and
It's
I
not
really
bad.
like that.
The design is good. It would look better if the trim
Yes,
was blue instead of red.
correct. Correct. The blue would
The
make this better.
Yeah, the overall design is quite good. I like the texture of that. I really do. What I don't like the red. I like that his scrimma sticks are in his boots because they did that with Daredevil on the
Yeah.
Netflix show, which I thought was cool. But again, it's like I think the sticks look better. It just from a posing standpoint
It's a
on
little
the
more
back.
striking on his back. The other thing
Yeah.
that I like about this is if you think about it, this is the suit he's wearing in the Judas Project movie.
Oh, that's right. It is. Yeah. I
And
don't know. I have mixed feelings on that movie.
well, and I would say this here, I'll send you one more link.
Yeah.
And this is how cool that suit would look if it had blue on it.
Not really. I don't know. I'm kidding. For those who don't know, Matt just sent me a picture of himself in cosplay as Nightwing. You jackass. It's okay. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Well, then, you get into 2016, like Rebirth happens. That 2016 suit, it's okay.
I didn't like it.
It's just the bird. I don't like the bird going over like not even his shoulders, like over his like collarbone.
Yeah.
And it's a little too unitardy for me.
Well,
Um,
and then it has the weird like why does he have blue knot stripes, weird stripes around his boots?
and why does he have blue knuckle dusters?
I hate the knuckle duster on
I do
anything.
too.
That's just
Well,
so
and then the 2018 suit's not much better. I like that the bird is part of the shoulders. It gives it gives the suit a little more definition, but again, it's still just too much of a unitard. Um, it's just I don't know. And then we're not going to discuss that 2020. Uh, that's awful. That whatever the hell that is.
the Rick Grayson.
The
No,
Rick Grayson, yeah, just no. That Rick Grayson suit is an abomination. Yeah, not okay. And then there's also the other suit we don't talk about. The with the weird black with the gray and the red that I'm looking at right here.
hold up, put up the picture because I'm lost. I forgot to keep those pictures
Oh,
open.
you dummy. You dummy. All right. So I'm looking at this one here, this 2020 red sleeves, red and white
Oh yes,
sleeves,
that was just
whatever that was
awful.
about. I don't even remember what that was from, to be
That
honest with you.
so it's when he's Rick Grayson
Yeah.
and he at first he's just reluctantly helping this team of Nightwings. Don't ask. And then
I'm
he's
not
like,
gonna.
"Well, I should have a costume," and he creates a costume, and this is the costume he has
That
for
is
maybe 5 issues,
oof,
and then he becomes a Talon for 3 issues, and then he comes back to being Nightwing.
gross. Anyway,
But when he becomes back to being Nightwing, we get a legit cool Nightwing costume, almost exactly.
you talking about the one in the Tom Taylor run?
Yes.
Dude, that suit's good, man. That's a good suit.
And I think the Flash is the one that gives it to him. But
Yeah,
it's
it is.
just
It is.
but it's the same one from the 90s. It just has more streamlined. It doesn't have the things around his boots.
Which is, yeah, again, was just I get, because I remember one of the I think it was in one of the mini run of the Nightwing Huntress run. This is back when writers would do like Q&As at the back end, and they would answer the fan mail. Remember those days? Those were good days.
Yes.
And somebody asked about that, and he was like, "Well, we wanted to make him different than Batman, so instead of a utility belt, we gave him gear holsters on his boots and his gloves." And I remember being like 9 years old, thinking that'd make fighting hard.
Yeah. My biggest problem with the current costume is not really a problem with the costume. It's the fact that his grapple guns are now in his screamer sticks.
Yeah, they made him Daredevil.
No, I don't know
I
about
get
that.
it. I get it. It's again, because Nightwing doesn't do the gadgets. He just needs his sticks and a grappling hook. I
Yeah.
get it. You're killing two birds with one stone. I'm not mad at it. It's Daredevil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I do want to rescind one thing I said earlier. There is one time that I was okay with the red emblem on the suit.
Mm-hmm.
And that is in the first Injustice game when Damian is Nightwing, because Damian sucks anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
It's a
And he,
terrible. It's just oof. I mean, the comics gave that a little more context to where I was able to live with it a bit more. Damian Wayne being Nightwing. I just hate Damian Wayne.
yes.
So if you're gonna give me the shitty Nightwing costume, give it to me on the shittiest Nightwing. That's fine. Well, let me throw this at you, Matt, because really there isn't much more to say about versions of Nightwing's costume. That's kind of it, really. So based on what we've talked about, we like and don't like with these costumes. I want you, especially as the Nightwing guy here, I want you to pitch me like let's kit bash your perfect Nightwing suit here. Looking at what we've got, looking at what we've looked at, what do you think it needs? What do you think it doesn't need?
So honestly, I am a really big fan. The thing that they've kind of did in Rebirth. Brett Booth bought it back when he redid Nightwing's costume. I like the stripes going down the sleeves.
I do too.
And I
I do
think
too.
so. With that in mind, I would do that to the the Young Justice costume. If you could
So take
figure
the
out a
Young
way
Justice costume
and
and
just give it a little,
give him
even if it,
the big emblem, the V emblem with it going down his sleeves.
or even just like put, like I've seen, there was a cosplayer, I can't remember his name, where he put that emblem on his chest, and then he cut and kind of kit bashed the emblem to put him on the shoulder pads, and then the blue went down his arms, and it just
Oh,
looked
so
really
kind of
cool.
like having them almost like patches on his sleeves where the
Yes.
bird emblem was. Oh, I kind of like that.
Like, or like you're saying, even if you just extended the blue up through his shoulders and weren't down his arms, or even if you just gave, like, if you get to do a close up of the Young Justice suit, there's some seams that are gray, make them blue. Just add
Yeah.
a little more blue to the suit, and I think it would be really cool. But I think his Young Justice suit is probably my favorite suit as far as I've tried. I had it made once and they didn't do a good job. I should go
Yeah.
back to it. You saw the Nightwing suit. I didn't particularly care for that, but I think that's because I probably should have had a muscle suit because, I'm not in comic book shape.
Well, and the trick with Nightwing's costume is because it is ultimately very simple. It's really easy to do it and make it look cheap. You know what I mean? It's hard to do it without looking like a costume.
Yeah.
Um,
And nobody's built like that.
no, well, also nobody's as handsome as Dick Grayson.
There we go. There
Dick
you go.
Grayson has two superpowers. He has the most photogenic face on the face of the earth, and he has an ass that won't quit. It's canon in DC
Yes.
on multiple levels. It's the one thing I will credit Teen Titans Go for nailing is when they have that the one episode I've seen where he takes his mask off and he's so handsome that it's disarming of supervillains. That's
Yeah.
excellent. That's excellent comedic writing. Yeah, I just my problem with the emblem being just on the chest, both for that and the Teen Titans one, is whenever I see that on a variation of Nightwing, to me that means they're just making it makes the emblem feel obligatory and
Yeah,
not a part of the costume.
correct.
It
Yeah,
just
I
feels
see.
like they put it on there to put it on there.
Yeah,
Uh, if you're gonna do it, stylize the shit, you know?
yeah. A couple honorable mentions I do want to say, if you don't
Yeah.
mind. Um, we've talked about it before. I almost bought the figure the other day. I I don't know why, but like the night Robin Nightwing-ish suit from Batman and Robin, the
Oh,
movie, like
it's not bad.
it's kind of cool.
It's not great. It's not great. I'm in no way, shape, or form defending that movie. We did a whole episode shitting on it. It's not a bad suit.
it
It's not the worst.
for what it was supposed to be, like it looks cool and it has the things down the arms. Like,
They they did the things they were supposed to do correctly.
yeah,
I
it's a
think
cool suit. I
I and I get why they had him keep a cape because it's still supposed to be Robin, not Nightwing.
and it doesn't look bad.
It doesn't look bad with the cape. Again, the problem here is more or less the movie the suit is in
Yeah,
than the suit itself. I think there's especially because like look, in our lifetime, in the next I would say 5 years, and I'm being generous, in the next 5 years, I think we're gonna see Nightwing live action in a movie
yeah,
because it hasn't happened yet. It's gonna happen. If we're doing Damian Wayne as Robin, we're getting Dick Grayson Nightwing in
yeah,
a movie. So I guess it's one of those. It's like they gotta nail the suit.
yeah.
They gotta nail the suit. Otherwise, what are we doing?
I just sent you the Nightwing suit, Nightwing Robin suit from
Yeah,
that.
I'm
It
looking
just
at it. And
it's just cool.
yeah, it's not the worst thing. It's fine. The nipples are probably the worst thing. I mean, it goes without saying. The sleeve, the greaves on his forearms don't quite fit him very well. It looks like
No, that's just costuming in general of
that's
what
just
they were doing at
yeah.
the time.
Well,
They're
and
trying to bulk him
this
up.
looks like a this is very much this is a screen test shot. This is a costume screen test shot. Um, but but also they had to be able to move their arms.
Yeah.
I don't love his mask, I will say.
No, the mask is a bit.
But the suit itself, they're on to something with that.
Yeah.
Like from again on paper, the concept of that kind of like with the one from Titans. It's like on paper, this is a good design, and the movie executed it better than they could have on it. Look, it's better than Batman's suit in that movie.
Yeah.
Clooney's bat suit's terrible. So I almost want to take this into Photoshop and color that red emblem blue. See if I like it. And
I'm
see if I
sure it's
look
out
better.
there.
I'm sure. I wonder if that would but anyway, yeah, as far as like my preferred like what I'd like to see in a Nightwing suit, I think I'd like to see some combination of the Young Justice one and the Arkham Knight one.
Yeah.
Especially if because depending on like right now, and I'm saying this only because they name dropped Bloodhaven in the Batman. Let's assume we get Nightwing in Matt Reeves Batman stuff. Kind of like when we pitched it. By the way, guys, we did a whole episode pitching how to make Dick Grayson work in live action, which is basically the short answer is you skip Robin and just make him Nightwing. It's fine, but a version of Nightwing that's going to be able to exist alongside Pattinson's Batman, I think would need to kind of like him have some hybrid between armored and flexible suit. And I think if you take the Young Justice suit and just give it not necessarily armor, but like some kind of tactical padding on it,
Yeah.
I think you'll hit that sweet spot to where you can give him like the Han Solo smuggler belt, and the Screama sticks on the back, and I think I like that Arkham Knight mask, where it's not a domino mask, it's almost Gambit like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not as bad as the one from '05 when he had the all red suit. That one's atrocious, but
Yeah.
it's just enough. I think if you got somewhere in between the two of those. Also, I kind of miss the days of Nightwing having glide wings. I'm not gonna lie. I
It's
kind of
back
like
and forth.
I like him having the glider wings. I know different designs do and don't have that, and he doesn't always need it. I know lately, especially the Tom Taylor run, like it was more like, no, he doesn't need it. He's got a grappling hook and he's an acrobat. I'm like, I get that, but I feel like just having them as an option would be nice, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I'm
from a
trying.
tattoo standpoint.
Yeah. What's the only other one I would probably like kind of lightly mention is there's a Batman and Superman comic where they go to a different world and it's like an amalgam of all the different heroes, and Nightwing is combined with Green
Oh,
Lantern, that Night Lantern one.
yeah,
I think it looks really cool.
not bad. It's not bad at all. I'll tell you what, as much as I worship the ground the Injustice Comics walk on, when they made Dick Grayson Dead Man, and it was just that weird, they just stuck a D on the front of the Nightwing suit. I was like, okay, you didn't even try. You didn't even try.
Yeah.
But I also love the idea so much but I was also just kind of salty they killed Nightwing. Again, for the story, I get it, but
Yeah.
also like the fact that it's Nightwing getting killed by Damian Wayne. It's like, oh, now you're just pissing on my
Yeah.
core.
Now you're just
You're
being ridiculous.
salting the wound, you bastards. Yeah, man. We bring this up because again, like starting this year, we're getting Creature Commandos. We're gonna start hearing about scripts being written. Andy Muschietti, it's been up in the air if he's actually going to be directing Brave and the Bold. It was confirmed, then it was not, and then it was. So it's not. But again, there's no script yet, so we'll see. We know that Andy Muschietti has been signed on with Warner Brothers in DC, the same way Matt Reeves was, to where he gets a first look with them now.
Yeah.
Which is, I like that they're showing that level of faith in him, because again, they did it with Matt Reeves too. So obviously, and so and if there's one thing that everybody took away from the Flash, it was that Andy Muschietti gets Batman
Yeah.
above anything else. So, like I said, I think 5 years, 5 years on the generous side, 10 years for sure. We're getting live action Nightwing in film finally.
Yeah.
Cannot believe it's taken us this goddamn long, but it is what it is.
Well,
And
especially if they're starting Batman Brave and the Bold with him having Damien as a sidekick. We're assuming they're not going to have Damien be the first Robin.
no,
Easy to have Nightwing there.
it absolutely is. But it also does make me wonder about the constant Tim Drake erasure that seems to happen. But as you and I have discussed at length, let's be honest though, of all the Robins, if you're gonna forget about one casually, I know people love Tim Drake. I'm not hating on Tim Drake, but ultimately, like, what's so special about Tim Drake? It's not really. I was telling Matt, at the same time that I'm collecting these Nightwing comics as a kid, I'm also collecting Robin comics, because most of the time my mom would sign off on those. It's Robin.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, here's 5 issues of him arguing with his dad at dinner, getting grounded, then sneaking out to have milkshakes in the Robin mobile with spoiler for some reason. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't care about any of this.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna gloss over a Robin, Tim Drake's the one to do it with. But also we're also saying that as like, but if they have it where where Damien's the first Robin, I can't even imagine what that's going to do to my blood pressure.
Oh, we're going hunting for some James Gunn. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man, yeah. Sorry, friend of the show. So guys, that's what look, Nightwing's suit has evolved over the years to varying degrees of success, and then at some point we hit a sweet spot and just said, let's just keep doing this over and over again. and occasionally make the logo red. It's look, ultimately, even the worst Nightwing design from the blue on black, from the 90s forward, have all been different variations of good. Like, even the
Yes.
ones that might not be our favorite aren't bad. The only truly bad ones are those first couple and Rick Grayson. Other than that, they're all fine to awesome. Uh, and fine is nothing wrong with fine in terms of superhero costumes or superhero costumes. So that's what we think of all these. We'd love to know what you guys think of the different variations of Nightwing's suit over the years. What are some things you absolutely need to have and absolutely hate to see in a Nightwing costume? Please let us know. Find us over on Facebook. You can find the show over there. You can find me on social media at Mr. Mike Shea.
You can find me on Twitter at Mr. J Ninja.
That is going to do it for this week on We Are the Batman. We'll see you guys again next week. Same bat time, same bat podcast channel.
Bye-bye.